Will it be rinse and repeat for Ole Miss at quarterback with Deuce Knight, the Auburn transfer? To discuss that, a guy who knows everything about Ole Miss, Stephen Willis of Locked On Ole Miss. It's like that's the daily Ole Miss podcast or something or other in that regard. I think it's on his jacket over there. Stephen, what was your instant reaction when Deuce Knight transferred to Ole Miss to replace Trinidad Chambliss, who of course did not get his waiver approved by the NCAA and is not expected to be able to win that fight? So is it Deuce Knight starting behind center in 2026?
If I had my money on who's going to take the first snap for Ole Miss in 2026, it's Trinidad Chambliss, honestly.
Really?
Oh, yes. They're getting ready to file a lawsuit, do the Diego Pavia thing in Mississippi State Court. And with everything that's going on, he kind of has a dream team at lawyer. I'm expecting an injunction. And I do think if anybody's the quarterback going into the fall, it's going to be Trinidad Chambliss, which is great because he is going to instantly walk in and be the best quarterback potentially in college football. And Ole Miss at that point with him at quarterback is a top 5 level team. So I will say that to say this. I really like Deuce Knight. I liked him during recruitment when he was committed to Notre Dame. I was talking to the Florida football scout, and I said, hey, it doesn't matter where he commits to. It doesn't matter where he signs with. He's going to end up at Ole Miss. And we ended up nailing that. But, I mean, he had, 170 yards rushing against Mercer. I get that it was Mercer, but it's still impressive when you're a true freshman starting and he had 400 yards of offense. But I really like Deuce Knight, but I do not think he's going to be the starting quarterback in 2026.
So it sounds like the NCAA is saying, no, you can't do this. But what we have seen before is judges have no allegiance or connection to the NCAA, and they are strictly ruling on the law at hand. And the NCAA is not enforcing the law. They're enforcing their own rules and have oftentimes been told, hey, your rules are not actually valid. There was a basketball player that had this example, by the way, who plays for Gonzaga by the name of Tyon Grant Foster. He applied for another year of eligibility, and the NCAA said, no, you've used it up already. I think he's legitimately 26 years old, and he's been around for a long time. He had a serious health concern back early in his career. Then he went to a judge and said, hey, can I still play? And they said, yeah, and he's starting for the top 15, 20 Gonzaga Bulldogs right now. So is that the option that you think Chambliss is going to be able to succeed on?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, Tom Mars, who is the NCAA super lawyer out there, and a couple of guys inside the state of Mississippi, they're going to file. They want an injunction or a temporary restraining order, however you want to phrase it, from the judge that is going to allow him to play while this case proceeds. And we all know the U.S. criminal justice system or circuit court or whatever, whichever it's called, moves at a snail's pace. So if he gets an injunction, he's going to play.
That's wild. Let's still talk about Deuce Knight just in case that doesn't happen. So Knight was a big-time recruit going to Auburn, and I think he's someone that at least a segment of the Tigers fan base wanted to keep around in the Alex Golesh era to see, hey, you know, with what Alex Golesh has done with quarterbacks in his career, going back to his time at Tennessee with the Vols, would love to see what he could do with Deuce Knight. Immense potential, but he hasn't played a lot of football, right? That's kind of the biggest knock on him right now is, well, he just hasn't seen the field a whole heck of a lot. But this is not an overrating when you look at the tape and try to figure out, well, why was he so highly rated? Oh, yeah, that would be. I mean, he's an incredibly physically gifted kid.
Yeah, the first play in the game against Mercer this year that he started, 75-yard touchdown run. The second play was like a 60-yard touchdown run. I mean, he could do some crazy stuff athletically on a football field. And I don't know that he has ever stepped on a football field where he is not the best athlete on it. Now, he needs to learn how to play the position. And we all know that Auburn struggled last year with the quarterback position, and especially the developing and coaching of it.
You can just end that sentence at Auburn struggled.
Yes. So him sitting behind Trinidad, if that happens over the course of the year, kind of learning, kind of a mentor mentee type situation, that is the perfect role potentially for Ole Miss moving forward. Deuce Knight in the Ole Miss offense, because I know that Lane Kiffin has moved on to LSU. It is still the same offense. They brought in David Baker, who basically was at Ole Miss from 2020 to 2023, and then he went to East Carolina and ran that offense and then brought it back. It's going to be really exciting to see somebody that is that athletically gifted run the same offense that Jackson Dart did, that Trinidad Chambliss, that they did. I want to see him in that scenario because, listen, you put those type of tools, this is a plus arm, this is plus running ability. He already weighs 220 pounds. He's probably going to put on 10 pounds as well. I mean, you have a legitimate chance where this could be the most physically gifted quarterback to ever try to run this system. And think about what that could mean.
Yeah, I think that's an exciting proposition if you're an Ole Miss fan. Do their 2026 return playoff hopes hinge on Chambliss winning his lawsuit, or do you think Deuce Knight could get them there?
I think it's going to be difficult with Deuce Knight because he'll be a redshirt freshman. So
yeah,
you can't really predict what's going on. I know that if Chambliss comes back and everything, this is a top 5 team. And he's the leader for the Heisman Trophy and all of that stuff. So the ceiling for Ole Miss with Chambliss is probably, if it's a 12-team playoff, a bye in the playoff, although you probably don't want that. The ceiling for a Deuce Knight letting Ole Miss is probably 15 to 20, something like that. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now.
Is there anything else in the portal that Ole Miss has done that is really helping their team out that you've seen or that you would like to see them do? Or has it been a little bit on the quieter side, because, I mean, nothing else notable has happened at Ole Miss in the last 2 months.
Well, one thing's interesting. Ole Miss this year famously did a bunch of drop 8 and all of this to where they had trouble stopping the run from time to time. The reality of that is they could not play man coverage. When the other team knew that Ole Miss was playing man coverage, they would get a matchup and they would exploit it over and over again. You saw that against Georgia. You saw that early in the season against Arkansas, whenever they tried to do it. And because of that, teams like Miami could absolutely physical Ole Miss. Pete Golding said no more. Ole Miss has signed like 5 safeties already in this transfer portal as it started, including 5 stars, Joenell Aguero from Georgia, Edwin Joseph from Florida State. It is pretty obvious that Pete Golding is like, nope, this is not happening again. We're getting back to playing defense.
What's the timeline on the Chambliss appeal?
I don't know that it's supposed to be filed in state court this week. That's the rumor about. And once that happens, I guess it's on the judge for the time frame after that. I figure it might happen. Maybe it's thinking optimistically, but this month sometime. But I'm not 100% sure.
Stephen Willis, Locked on Ole Miss. Great as always. Speaking of quarterback moves, here are the ones that you're probably overlooking, but could be really, really fun.